Cryptography. Cryptography is the science of secure communication that uses mathematics and computers to create hidden messages. Cryptography is therefore the process of hiding or coding information so that only the person a message was intended for can read it. The art of cryptography has been used to code messages for thousands of years and continues to be used in bank cards, computer passwords, and e-commerce. Thus, cryptography, or cryptology, is one solution that has made it possible to protect information from some of the risks associated with data storage and distribution. In a basic process of text encryption, a plain text, data that can be clearly understood, undergoes an encryption process that turns it into ciphertext, which is unreadable. By doing this, one can guarantee that the information sent can only be read by a person in possession of a specific decryption key. By using specific cryptographic techniques, one is able to send sensitive data even over unsecured networks. The level of encryption will depend on the degree of protection that the data requires. For instance, the type of security used on regular personal files like contacts is not the same as the one used on cryptocurrency networks. Learning how cryptography works is critical to understanding its security importance within blockchain systems, such as the one of Bitcoin, makes use of a particular set of cryptographic techniques that allows them to function as a decentralized and public ledger, through which digital transactions can take place in a very secure way. How does cryptography work? The modern cryptography consists of various areas of study, but some of the most relevant are the ones that deal with symmetric encryption, asymmetric encryption, hash functions, and digital signatures. Symmetric versus asymmetric encryption. In cryptography, encryption algorithms generate keys as a series of bits that are used for encrypting and decrypting a piece of information. Encryption algorithms are often divided into two categories, known as symmetric and asymmetric encryption. The fundamental difference between these two methods of encryption relies on the fact that symmetric encryption algorithms make use of a single key for both encryption and decryption. This key is kept private and is often used to encrypt data that is stored in a static location like a database. Symmetric encryption is faster than asymmetric encryption, while asymmetric encryption makes use of two different but related keys, one public and one private, to encrypt and decrypt data. Anyone can use the public key to encrypt data, but only the holder of the private key can decrypt it. Asymmetric encryption is also known as public key cryptography, while symmetric encryption algorithms use the same key to perform both the encryption and decryption functions. An asymmetric encryption algorithm, by contrast, uses one key to encrypt the data and another key to decrypt it. In asymmetric systems, the key used for encryption is known as the public key and can be freely shared with others, while the key used for decryption is the private key and should be kept in secret. In symmetric schemes, the keys are randomly selected, while in asymmetric encryption, there must be a mathematical relationship between the public and private keys, meaning that there is a mathematical pattern between the two. The length of symmetric keys is usually set at 128 or 256 bits, depending on the required level of security. In the case of asymmetric keys that have a mathematical pattern between public and private keys, the pattern can potentially be exploited by attackers to crack the encryption. Thus, the keys need to be much longer than the symmetric keys to present an equivalent level of security. The difference in key length is so pronounced that a 128-bit symmetric key and a 2048-bit asymmetric key offer roughly similar levels of security. Such a distinction, though apparently simple, accounts for the functional differences between the two forms of encryption techniques and the ways they are used. Symmetric encryption is generally considered less secure because it uses one key, while asymmetric encryption is generally considered more secure and versatile than the symmetric encryption because it uses two keys. However, asymmetric encryption is slower and less efficient than symmetric encryption, and it can be more complex to manage. The choice between symmetric and asymmetric encryption depends on the user's specific needs. As an example to clearly understand the difference between symmetric and asymmetric encryption, if Hazel sends Hannah a message that is protected by symmetric encryption, she needs to share the same key she used for encryption with Hannah so that he can decrypt the message. This means that if a malicious actor intercepts the key, they are able to access the encrypted information. However, if Hazel uses an asymmetric scheme instead, she encrypts the message with Hannah's public key, so Hannah will be able to decrypt it with her private key. Thus, asymmetric encryption offers a higher level of security because even if someone intercepts their messages and finds Hanel's public key, they are not able to decrypt the message. Application cases of symmetric encryption. Because of its greater speed, symmetric encryption is widely used to protect data in many modern computer systems. For example, the Advanced Encryption Standard, AES, is used by the United States government to encrypt classified and sensitive information. The AES replaced the previous Data Encryption Standard, DES, which was developed in the 1970s as a standard for symmetric encryption. WhatsApp also uses symmetric encryption to encrypt and decrypt messages. Asymmetric encryption can be applied to systems in which many users may need to encrypt and decrypt a message or set of data, especially when speed and computing power are not primary concerns, but rather extreme security is paramount. Two examples of such systems using asymmetric encryption are cryptocurrencies and emails, in which a public key can be used to encrypt a message and a private key can be used to decrypt it. Hybrid systems. In many applications, symmetric and asymmetric encryption are used together. A typical example of such hybrid systems is the Transport Layer Security (TLS) cryptographic protocols, which was designed to provide secure communication within the Internet. The Security Sockets Layer (SSL) protocols are now considered insecure and its use should be discontinued. In contrast, the TLS protocols are deemed safe and have been extensively used by all major web browsers. Digital signatures. Digital signatures are based on public key infrastructure. By this mechanism, two keys are generated, a public key and private key. The private key is kept by the signer, and it should be kept securely. On the other hand, the receiver must have the public key to decrypt the message. For example, if Hazel wants to send an encrypted message to Hanel, as stated above, Hazel must have a private key to sign the message digitally. Before the final encrypting of the message, using the private key, an algorithm first encrypts the message to be sent into a 128-256-bit format known as a hash value. Then Hazel's private key further encrypts this hash value. On completion of both processes, Hazel's message is said to be digitally signed. On the side of Hanel, the receiver, the digitally signed message is decrypted with the help of the Hazel's public key, the sender. The public key decrypts the message and converts it into another hash value. Then the program which is used to open the message compares this new hash value to the original hash value which was generated on the sender's side. If the hash value on sender's side matches with the hash value generated on receiver's side, then the program will allow the message to open up. Otherwise, the program will not allow the document to open if both the hash values don't match. Digital signatures ensure that a transmitted message has not been modified since a signature was applied. The program will only allow the document to open if both the sender's and receiver's hash values match. In financial systems, digital signatures guarantee that each user is only able to spend funds of his own wallet or account, and that these funds can't be spent more than once. Hash functions. A hash function is a mathematical function used in cryptography to typically take inputs of variable lengths and return outputs of a fixed length. The hash functions thus transform or map a given data set into a bit string of fixed size, also known as the hash value. Hash functions are used in cryptocurrency, password security, and message security. In cryptocurrency, blockchain specifically, hash functions are important elements of the protocol termed as the hashcash function, which define the proof-of-work consensus mechanism, and the mining process, responsible for securing the network, validating transactions, and generating new coins. For example, Bitcoin, the largest cryptocurrency, uses the SHA-256 cryptographic hash function in its algorithm, while Ethereum, the second most popular blockchain, uses KEKAK-256 to hash information. If you like and find the content from this video helpful, please subscribe and give a thumbs up to support this research. See you in the next video, and don't forget to hit the bell notification button.